All right. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, or wherever you are around the world watching this Google Hangout. My name is Richard Duffy, also known as Reverend Rich. And guys, I'm excited again to come to you to share some more prosperity ideas, the metaphysical approach to wealth and prosperity. And so, if you are seeing me for the first time, there's actually four Google Hangouts that I have done previous to this one, prior to this one. So I encourage you to go back and look at those other ones that I've done. And also comment. I would love to hear from you, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter. I'm here to share what I believe that God has put on my heart, and I would love to hear how you feel. What are your thoughts? And let's communicate. And so I'm excited again, as I've said to you many times, about this opportunity to utilize a wonderful tool, this Google Hangout, to be able to share with you my passion and my dream and my desire. And I believe that somebody is being transformed, is being changed, is being helped with this knowledge and understanding, because it helped me. I am a better person. I can actually see my goals and my dreams being fulfilled because of this journey, this path, the path that I've taken. And now I already see even greater things happening in your life and also in my life. Okay. So I encourage you to tune in. I'm going to continue on, I don't know, maybe 90 days straight, maybe 365 days straight. You never know. But right now, I'm doing a Google Hangout every single day because I want to build a momentum. I believe there has been a huge stronghold in the minds of God's people, and I believe everybody is a child of God. And there's a huge stronghold and a block in the people's mind in reference to prosperity, wealth, and becoming rich. And I know that was in me. I know there's a huge block and a huge contradiction in my own heart, whether or not I could seek prosperity or have a desire to be rich. And those things didn't change until I got involved with a network marketing company, and I was encouraged to read several self-help books. And I truly believe that network marketing or direct sales or multi-level marketing is a business that teaches self-development and leadership. Yes, there are a lot of people in these industries, in this industry, that has made a lot of money, but they made the money because of their leadership skills that they developed. And so I'm going into a lot of ideas in reference to that, because when I talk about becoming rich and creating wealth for yourself, these things will never happen unless there is mature leadership growth on the inside of you. A lot of times we want the bling bling and we want what money can offer us, but a lot of times we don't want to grow. We don't want to grow to the level of that income. A lot of times we look at athletes and actors and successful people like John Maxwell, Les Brown, and Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Anthony Robbins, and the David Woods, and many of the people that are very successful in their particular field, but we don't know what they do in the background that created their success. And I will tell you this one thing that created their success that we're going to talk about today is that they did not have an issue with money, or they didn't have an issue whether or not it was okay. And that had to be something that if they did have an issue, they had to deal with. And it's obvious that they dealt with it. And they had to get to the point where they understood that it was okay to be wealthy. And I want to share something with you that I think you also is going to be a blessing to you, what has happened in my own life and the reason why that I'm sharing these ideas with you right now. Okay, so we have been working out of the book of Catherine Ponder, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And this is one of the many books that has changed my life and has caused me to see prosperity, wealth, success differently. It's opened my mind with new ideas, new dreams and visions of myself, and also of the potential that's in everyone. You know, I always say that God in us is potentiality. You know, it's endless potential within us. And so if we can understand that, you know, the sky is the limit for us. The sky is the limit. But the first thing we have to understand, and I love the next chapter we're going to go into, is talk about that success is divinely ordained. Now, can you understand that success is divinely ordained? In other words, whatever desire you have, you know, whether it's business, whether it's relationship, whether it's health or whatever, it is God's will that you succeed in it. It is God's will that you have success. God has no issue about the amount, how big your success becomes. God is not upset about the fame that comes with it, the different things. He teaches us to be humble at all times. He teaches us to acknowledge where your success and the source of your good comes from. These principles have to be already embedded within us, or we do get ourselves in trouble. We are we are encouraged at all times to acknowledge God, the universe, our higher self, to acknowledge Him in every business affair, to recognize that God is the source of our supply. Okay, so when there is a seemingly lack or there seems to be scarcity, we got to go back, go within, and recognize where the source of our good comes from. Okay, so these things has to be a spiritual practice at all times, because there comes a times where, you know, businesses have this ups and downs, and sometimes bank accounts has their up and downs. It doesn't matter where a person is financially. You can have a person who's making 30,000 a year, and they can have financial challenges, and you can have a person who's making 30 million a year, and they have financial challenges. The challenges are the same. Is, do you understand how to turn within when the challenges are before you? Do you know how to look within and acknowledge God, your higher self, the universe, and be intuitively guided to the solution that you're dealing with? It doesn't matter where you are, 30,000 a year, $30 million a year, they're all the same. Okay, the 30,000 a year may think its problem is bigger than the one who has 30 million. The 30 million is like, no, you ought to see my problem. Each one is the same. You also have to understand that God doesn't see the 30,000 any different than it sees the 30 million. We do. Now, I have to admit to you, which one would I rather have? Oh, the 30 million. I mean, I'm not crazy. I understand. But do I have that 30 million type mindset? God does not care. It all starts with the mindset. Okay. Now there are some people who are at the level of 30,000 a year, and until they grow and develop, they will stay at 30,000. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no negative about that. Now, if they want more, they have to be more. And if they want more and be more, God is okay with it. God says yes, because there is something on the inside of them that's pushing them to become greater. Right? You understand that? There's something on the inside of them that says, hey, you know, you can have more, you can do more, and you can be more. Right? And so then they have to grow, okay, and become a leader. You know, I heard what's the gentleman's name? Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. He says when he had, $1 million problem. Somebody might say, boy, I would love to have that $1 million problem. I don't know. But listen, this is what he said. He says, you have to become bigger than the $1 million. Okay. So what if someone has a $10,000 problem? Well, you got to become bigger than the 10,000. And the God in you is bigger than any problem that we are facing or we're looking at. Okay. So recognize and acknowledge that there is a greater power in you. And when we intuitively seek that power at all times, then our success, again, is divinely ordained. And most of the time, I'm going to say 100% of the time, that which we desire is always more than what we anticipate. In other words, say, for example, if somebody said, you know what, I like to make an extra 10,000 a month. Well, the universe always gives you more than what you declare or you have set your intention for. It's always more. So the thing about that is, like I've always said, when you plant trees, apple seed, and you look on the branches, there are, matter of fact, there are so many apples that are on the trees, you can't even count them all. And this is what happens. When you understand that success is divinely ordained, you can look for your success, desire to be success, and God will even give you more than what you asked for. Ain't that exciting? So that's why I encourage you to understand that it's divinely ordained, and God would always give you more if you would always acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will direct your path. Okay, look at this. It said there is no reason for you to think of prosperity as something separate from your spiritual life. So me desiring or you desiring to be rich separate from your spiritual life is impossible. Because again, everything that exists or will exist is pressed out of God in different forms of manifestation. And since the nature of God is absolute good and cannot be wrong, for me to want to be rich or you want to be rich. Since the nature of God is absolute good, it can't be wrong for you and it can't be wrong for me. And I cannot be separated from it. In other words, it is required by the universe that I grow. Okay? If I plant an apple seed, in order for me to have apples on the branches, that tree has to grow. It has to be set in the right environment, the proper sunlight, the proper water for that tree to grow. Well, if I want to grow into the success of a millionaire or unlimited wealth, then I have to grow. Okay? So you can never separate yourself from the dream of what you want to become. You can't say, well, I'm here with my spiritual life, but over here, I want to be rich. It's impossible. They're all one. And that has been the biggest misconception in the world today. I'm over here praising God, worshiping God, loving God, but over here, I'm a business person. And no, it is all one. And when we understand that, then we're not upset. Matter of fact, we are glad to experience all the good that comes with my growth and also the wealth. Okay, so isn't that powerful? Look what it says here. It says that to think of prosperity as something separate from your spiritual life or beyond the pale of religion. You do not have to try to live in two worlds where you can run things for 6 days and then on the seventh day, give God a chance to show what he can do. Take God as a rich, loving, understanding father into all your affairs each day of the week. Okay, so if I'm in business, don't set God on the side and say, God, I'll pick you up Sunday. No, if I'm in business, I want that infinite wisdom with me in business. Because infinite intelligence can guide me in ways that I can't see, because a lot of times I'm governed by these five senses, and I'm governed by old concepts and old ideas. So bring God with you 7 days a week, and you will see how much success you would have in your life and also in your business and in every area of your life. Okay? Now, she says here that the Bible is a prosperity textbook. And I truly believe that. When you really study the Bible and interpret it correctly, you will see so many prosperity tips and ideas there that will literally change your life. And you will actually see that prosperity and wealth and riches were ordained by God, and they're hidden in that book in the Bible. Sometimes is hidden for those who are willing to really seek. You see, just reading it literally, black and white for what's on the pages, you'll never find the gem that's there. You know, Paul said the letter killeth, but spirit gives it life. In other words, the intelligence, the understanding of it brings life. So we have to look beyond the surface of it. In other words, that's what we're saying, the metaphysical aspect of it. So you can really understand and pull the life out of it. When you get the life of it, then you understand God has never had a problem of anyone enjoying wealth, success, and happiness. And as like Reverend Ike would say, success, happiness, love, money, and include money. God has no problem with people having all of that. Okay? She goes on to say that I decided to settle the issue within my own mind by studying the biblical view of prosperity versus poverty. Okay? And it was a pleasant surprise to discover that the Bible is the greatest textbook on prosperity ever written. Have you ever done that? Have you really looked in? Forget about what anybody said to you. And to be honest, that's what I did. I stopped listening to people. Let me share with you a story. I remember the first time that I had this um, aha moment, I guess you can call it, where I really wanted to be rich. I really wanted the freedom that wealth could bring. And I listened to the advice of so many people. Now, it wasn't that their advice wasn't bad. It wasn't that they were not looking out for me. They were looking out for my best interests. But I could not get rid of, I want you to hear this. I could not get rid of the feeling, the impulse of my soul pushing me toward the desire to be wealthy. It would not go away. But let me tell you what I did. I had many people say that, what happens when people pursue wealth? The marriages end up breaking up. They don't have relationship with their kids because they focus too much on money. And so because they're driven to make money, then relationships end up going haywire. They have no friends because they're geared toward money, money, money. So when they shared that with me, I said, okay. So my wife and I now has been married 29 years. So I spent the first 29 years of my life, 25, 26, 27, 9 years, being a husband and a loving husband, caring husband, and all that, husbands to do and to be. I spent the 21 years, 24 years being the father that my children needed to be. And all I did was, you work, you get paid, you get a paycheck, and you basically, like everybody else do, you work, get paid, take a vacation once a year. You go work, you work for 340 days, 45 days, take one vacation, and you work, right? Everybody know the routine. But there was something inside of me that wanted more. And I never forget, I had this aha moment where I called my dear friend, Reverend Eric Donaldson. He has a Unity Church in Memphis, Tennessee. And this is exact words I said to him. I said, Reverend Eric, do you remember in 2006 when you and I sat in Washington, D.C. at a restaurant and you asked me what was my goal? And I told you I wanted to be a multimillionaire. And your eyes bucked at me like, wow, what a goal. And he said, yes, I remember that. I said, do you know that I spent majority of my life doing what everybody told me to do? And I succeeded. I have a wonderful marriage. I have a wonderful relationship with my children. We are great together. And I said, but right now, Reverend E, I said, I did what everybody told me to do that would hinder me or would hinder the relationships that I had. So I did everything that everyone say do. Okay. And it didn't bring me wealth, but what it did bring me was, oh gosh, I will not take that away. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, because I have an end story here. So hear me out. I will not take that decision away. I never missed not one recital, one baseball game, anything that my children had in school. I was there for them 24/7, and I will never take that away. Our relationship is that good because I was determined to be a father to them. I was determined to be an example in front of them. And so what I'm sharing with you is very important. I want you to hear this. But when I recognize or realize that I could have done that and been rich as well. Now, let me explain something to you. The impulse of my desire to be rich did not go away. Matter of fact, as my children now are grown, my daughter's 24, my son is 21, and they have moved and started their own lives. My wife and I, we're still together, 29 years of marriage, and that itch to be more, to be wealthy, to be rich, did not go away. It is still strong. Matter of fact, it's stronger now. And I never forget, and I really do believe in the law of attraction, because I have met a couple people that have shared on Google Hangout, have shared on a video conference, where a lot of people have believed that if anybody wanted to become wealthy, you always have to do it at the expense of. In other words, you could not be spiritual and pursue wealth. Nope, because if you are pursuing wealth, then you can't have a true relationship with God. And wrong. You could not pursue riches and have a loving relationship with your spouse. And wrong. You could not pursue riches and have a loving, genuine relationship with your children. And wrong. I came to the realization that you can have it all. Now, I am not mad about my decision to build the right relationship with my wife and my children. I'm telling you that if you are out here and you have that impulse of wanting more in life, but someone is telling you that you can't do that because you're gonna if you try this, then you're gonna lose out on something else, that is not true. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you this: you will be more and you will be better. You do not have to stop this and pursue this. Be afraid that you're gonna lose out on your relationship with a significant other or your friends because you pursue wealth, or your child is going to be neglected because you pursue wealth. You can be spiritual. You can have a relationship with God and you can pursue wealth at the same time. Now, that has been a tremendous eye-opener for me, because at the time in my journey, I didn't know that you could. I listened to many other people and they believe, and there's a lot of people believe that you can. And I'm letting you know today, right now, tonight, wherever you are listening to this video, you can have a spiritual relationship. You can also have a relationship with your spouse, and you can have a relationship with your children and pursue wealth. All right, that's exciting. That's exciting to know. Okay, remember on the last video, and I'm going to close with this. I said I was going to share with you the cause. There has to be a reason why this stronghold of poverty being a virtue, being accepted in, I would say, 98% of the people's lives. They struggle with this idea that if I have a desire for wealth, and really the desire for wealth is really freedom. That's what you really want. You want the freedom to do. You want the freedom to be. You want the freedom to have. Okay? In other words, I see wealth and riches this way. If I want to go here, money's not a question. If I want to do this, money's not a question. If I want to travel, money's not a question. Whenever my wife and I want to have a weekend getaway, money's not a question. My children want to pursue another degree and add a degree on, money's not a question. If I desire to eat differently and eat more foods that are organic, money's not a question. If I have all of a sudden the motor goes up in my car and I can go into the emergency fund and boom, money's not a question. No matter what goes on in my life, money is not an issue. And guys, I'm gonna tell you what that means. That is called freedom. And everybody deserves that kind of freedom. Well, money is not a question. If you want to travel, money is not an issue. What would life be like if money was not an issue? You don't have to look at the tag and say, I can't get that right now. I love the book. Have you ever listened to the book called Want to Be a Millionaire? I believe it is. So Think Like a Millionaire. I think his name is T. Elker. I hope I pronounced his name right. But if you ever read his book, it is a phenomenal book because it is true about people who have not experienced wealth. Most of the time, what they order on the menu is chicken. If you ever read the book or listen to the audio tape, he talks about ordering chicken all the time because you cannot afford anything else on the menu. So you order basically the same thing over and over again. You don't get to do the things that you would love to do. You don't have to be afraid to look at the menu and order what you want. Guys, that's what wealth means to me. It means freedom. I don't have to order the cheapest part, okay, because I have more than enough. And let me say this to you. My loving Father gets good pleasure in giving me more than enough. Your Father gets pleasure in you having more than enough. All right? Now, in closing, where did this poverty idea come from? We have to understand the cause, or where did this thought, this idea come from that puts so many people in bondage to this belief that you can't be spiritual and rich at the same time. Listen to this. You may wonder why there has been so much talk of sacrifice, persecution, and hard times as necessary phases of a spiritual way of life. Remember I talked about that in previous videos, is that it seemed to be it was like part of life you get up and testify of your struggles throughout the week and how the devil almost got you and how you almost lost the victory and how much, you've heard people say they almost backslide and they almost gave up. And then the whole church starts shouting because, they made it through the struggle. But it was a struggle every single Sunday. It was like every Sunday they had some problem or some struggle going on and on and on. Now, you didn't hear. Now, maybe in your church is different. You didn't hear in many churches standing up and says, I just hit $1 million deal. I just want to testify that I just started a business and I just opened up $1 million contract. You never heard those kind of testimonies. You know why? Because wealth wasn't welcome. The idea of wealth and riches wasn't welcome in the church to be talked about and communicated about people's success. It was more about their struggle. Now, and listen, I want you to hear me, and I'm going to tell you why it was about that. Okay? I'm going to tell you why. Listen. History reveals that the inspired yet practical teachings of the Bible continued to be observed during the early centuries after Christ. But soon religion became more secular, leading to variations and departures from Jesus' original teachings. Later, the feudal systems during the Middle Ages assured wealth only for the privileged few. Now, look at this, that wealth was only for a certain privileged few. Watch this. During this period, the teaching of poverty and peasants was offered to the masses as the only way to salvation. Did you hear what I did? Did you hear it? Because I'm not going to go into it tonight, but you remember the story about when the rich man came to Jesus and he said, well, how can I inherit eternal life? And Jesus told him, said, well, I mean, take all your riches, because I know the law. I know the Bible, I know the law. And he says, well, take your riches and give it to the poor. And the Bible talked about how he went away sorrowful. And then he goes on to say how it was difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And right then, everybody took that one scripture and completely believed that that poverty is the way to salvation. And you have hundreds and thousands of people in the church unhappy and sad because they're struggling to pay their bills. They're struggling to do what they want to do. They have a dream, they have a vision, but they believe that struggle and suffering is the way to salvation. And this started way back in the Middle Ages. And it's still, that oral tradition traveled all the way through to the point that even ministers don't even like even to talk about prosperity. I was one of them. I had a hard time teaching about prosperity because you had to push through the resistance of people that they said, are you in here teaching prosperity? You don't hear prosperity teaching in churches. Yeah, everybody hear that the Clefo Dollars, the T.D. Jakes, and many other ministers, when they teach prosperity, the media's after them. People are talking about them. When you talk about prosperity, when it comes to the church, people have a hard time accepting it. But they are willing to accept poverty, and they're willing to accept suffering as a way to salvation, instead of having their freedom to be what they want to be, go where they want to go, do what they want to do. They rather suffer because guess what, guys? One day I'm going to live in my mansion and I'm going to walk on the streets of gold. It says it right here in her book. This is the reason why it is so difficult to accept the desire for riches, the desire for wealth. Here's the reason. I'll read it again. So, through the Middle Ages, assured wealth only for the privileged few. That means, and you know, the few people, not everybody. Then it says, was offered to the masses as the only way to salvation, in order to keep people in poverty and to make lack and privation as supposed as a Christian virtue. You know what their goal was? Is to listen. This is nothing against anybody. They didn't. No one wanted to control me. I let people control me. Okay, no one can control you. Every minister has ever used poverty as a way to salvation, thought they were doing a good service, and they felt in their heart that they were doing it right. I'm here to set you free. It was error. If you ever been in math class, and I don't care what you say, 2 plus 2 will always be 4. 5 plus 5 will always be 10. And if you ever say 5 plus 5 is 11, and when you get into higher math, your problems will always be wrong. And guess what? When it comes to understanding wealth and prosperity, if you have it deep in your heart that salvation for me is for poverty and suffering, you will always have poverty and suffering. And then you will criticize the ones who has found the way out, that it's okay to have wealth and riches and also be spiritual. You will have a struggle trying to find the freedom, the peace to enjoy wealth, because of that idea that was taught way back in the Middle Ages. And listen, guys, it says right here, unexpected millions were led to believe that it was pious to be poor, a belief which was useful in foretelling a revolution among the masses. Some of those old feudal ideas about poverty as a spiritual virtue has persisted until today. Even till right now, where we are, it is still the idea that it is more virtuous to struggle, to suffer, than to be rich. And this is where it came from. And their goal is to, and I had to say this, in that time, was to control. Think about it. If you tell people that poverty and suffering is your way to salvation, because the only thing they had to keep you coming was, if you wanted any hope for not going to hell, you had to keep coming, because suffering was your way to freedom. So you just continue to come, and you continue to come because you believe that one day in the sweet by and by, I'm going to have my wealth. So you just adapt to the idea that it's okay. And there are people out here traveling, enjoying the arts, enjoying the ocean, traveling on their boats, enjoying the beaches whenever they want to and whenever they feel like it. And guess what, guys? They are God's child, and they are spiritual. Oh my goodness. So if you heard what I said, I hope you heard what I said, because I was there. I was one of the ones who used to believe that suffering and poverty was a way to salvation. I was one of the ones who accepted that idea, recognized that it was an erroneous idea. And it took a lot of studying, and it took a lot of being around different people to open my eyes up to see that, Richard, you're on the right path. You're okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you desiring to have success and wealth, and there's nothing wrong with you to set a financial goal. There's nothing wrong with that. And it liberated me. I mean, right now, I'm excited because now I know that as much as my error was then, and God said, now here it is, God says yes to my error belief, and God is also saying yes to my desire for wealth. So if I stayed in that suffering mode attitude of mind, and God said yes to it because that was what I wanted, that's what I believe, well, what do you think God's going to do for those who break free from that mindset and now understand that you can enjoy success and wealth and freedom, and all you have to do and all you have to know that it is divinely ordained for you to have success? Isn't that exciting? Isn't that a wonderful feeling? So listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. We're going to continue on in the chapters of the dynamic laws of prosperity. I hope that those of you that listen to this video, I'm hoping that you had a breakthrough. I'm hoping that you heard my testimony and recognize that you may have been in the same place that I've been. And now you're free. And whatever dream you have, and whatever desire you have, and one of those dreams is financial freedom, it's yours. You can have it. And God is on your side. All right? All right, guys. This is Richard Duffy, also known as Reverend Rich. Please don't forget to look at my blog as www.youtube.com. Please read my blogs and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right? YouTube can be prosperous. All right? So subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter. I am Rich Now. Rich I Am Now, I believe it is. And just type in Richard Duffy and you'll find me. You go to my Twitter account. And guys, again, under this video, send me some comments. You know, I don't care whether it's you agree or disagree. Let's have some dialogue. Let's communicate. Let's talk. Because my desire for you is that you find your divine purpose and also understand that you can have the freedom to have riches and success and happiness and peace and health and money. All right? God bless you, everyone. Peace and blessings.